Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Stephanie if you happen to be new here, and today I'm going to be showing you how I went about painting one of the reavers from my Hounds of Morkai box. So originally this was just going to be a one-off unit, you know. I've always kind of liked Space Wolves and I've never painted a Space Marine before, so I was like, I need to do that. So I did, and I really enjoyed it. And now, well, one thing kind of led to another with this, where now I have the codex. I really am enjoying the lore, kind of delving into the Black Library with Space Wolves, and have a Dreadnought coming. So I don't know, I don't really know what's gonna happen, but I hope you enjoy seeing this process. And I think with this video, I'm going to take a more straightforward approach and focus on three main components. So we're going to dive into how I did the armor in general, then focus on the shoulder pads, and then finally we'll do the blade. So yeah, let's get started. All right, what is up everybody? I primed my guy black. I've been priming black more and more often recently. I just like it more. You know me, I go through phases with things. But we're going to be working on the armor first. So it's good to start with black for this particular technique. And I am using the color whole red. You could mix black and red together if you don't have this color. And I try to do the thing right here that the YouTubers do, where they like swatch it on their thumb so you can see the consistency, but I don't know. I went for it. So this is a thick, heavy glaze. It is very diluted from the original paint, and I am just slopping this around all over the place basically. So you don't have to be tidy on this step. You just go for it. Just put it all over, and when it dries it should look something like this. Nice. And then we're going to be going in with Oxford blue. And I would describe this color as indigo personally. And same consistency as before, we're going to start layering with this color. So we're just putting that, look, I'm gonna do it. You can see it's somewhat opaque. Oh, this is ridiculous. Okay. What was I saying? Oh yeah. Okay, so I'm putting that all over everywhere except for the deepest parts, and I really mean just the deep parts leave red. So cracks in between two plates of armor, things like that, leave those areas red so that the hue comes through. But we really want this Oxford blue to be our base coat, basically our starting point. So I do a couple layers with this. All right, so now that that is taken care of, we are going to be using the color Thunderhawk Blue. This is probably my favorite paint that I own right now. I've been using it a lot, and I am also making a very thick glaze with this, and I am just layering again, covering slightly, and I mean very slightly, less surface area than the layer before. So I just put it on, and you can see here when you put this on, it kind of puddles up when you place it. When it dries, it doesn't look quite like that. It dries a little bit better. But if you don't like the puddling, that doesn't necessarily mean that your paint is too watered down. It just means that you have too much of your paint on your brush. So you can just wipe some of it off and then keep at it. But like I said, you really do want a thin consistency because we are going to be doing a lot of layers and you do not want your guy to look chalky or cakey. So yeah, I'm all for the puddling. All right, he's looking more like a space wolf with every passing minute, which is fantastic. In this step, what I'm doing is I'm actually taking my Oxford blue glaze from the previous step that was still sitting on my palette, and I am just replacing some areas if I think the transition is too harsh from the Thunderhawk blue to the red, and I like skipped out on the mid-tone on those points. I am replacing it because I really like the purple that I really like the definition that the purple gives, and I didn't want to lose that, so I am just reglazing over those areas. And you can always do that if you think the transition is too harsh on certain pieces. You just go back and fix it. Okay, this is ice yellow, and we will be slowly mixing this into our previous color very, very slowly. You can see here I completely messed this up. I actually had to add some more Thunderhawk blue to the mix. You really want this to be gradual, and yeah, I just made a big old mess. So don't be like me. Take your time, get the right proportions with your paint, and start highlighting. So you want to pick an angle that you think looks good. Typically the direction the model's head is facing, you pick that angle and then you just start highlighting anywhere where the light catches. You just layer up from there, and of course each time you're covering less surface area than the last time. I'm using the stippling. You don't have to, you can just glaze the way we did on the previous steps, but I personally really like the texture that it adds to the model, and I just think it makes it look a little bit more unique and kind of cool and kind of cartoony, fantasy-ish, even though I know we're in a different universe, but just let me have it. By this point, I was using pretty much pure ice yellow. It's still pretty watered down, and I'm just taking those highest points and adding just a few little stippling dots. When you stipple, it looks kind of crazy when you first put the pigment down. Then when the water dries from it, it settles a lot. So it might look kind of nuts, but then once the model's all the way dry, it looks a lot better. All right, guys, we are moving on to the shoulder pads, and I'm actually really happy with how these came out. They were really fun to do. The colors I use are corn red and Uriel yellow, and basically all I'm doing is base coating with the dark red, and then I just keep adding a little bit of the yellow into it, and I do use stippling for this. Again, I really like the texture. I think it looks cool, and so I just do less and less surface area each time. That's pretty much it. And you'll see a couple times throughout this what happens is I mess up the transition a little bit. So I later on you'll see it goes from red straight up to yellow and I miss out on the orange. If something like that happens, you just go back in with that orange glaze, like make a glaze with the tone of orange that you want and just start filling in those gaps to make it look smooth. You just have to mess with it a little bit, and the more you do it, the easier it will get. I very strategically did not feel myself putting the transfer on because it's embarrassing. I don't have the fine motor skills for it, and so it's a very frustrating thing for me, and I just didn't want to include it. But you guys know how to do that, I hope, and if not, well, you can just watch the nice Warhammer man teach you on a video. That's what I did. On this part, I went absolutely crazy with the yellow accidentally, and the transition was not smooth at all. So all you're going to see me do to fix that is I just keep adding more and more water to my brush and kind of muddling up the outer area of where I messed it up. And that's something that I do a lot. If I go in too strong with one color, it's simple to just add water to your brush and stipple around the outer part to make it blend better. Finally, I am making a glaze of ice yellow, and I am just doing that on the very, very, very center where I want it to catch the most light. Now for this other shoulder pad, I am doing 4 straight lines, trying to keep them as equally distanced as possible. And it doesn't come out perfect. None of them are perfect. But the good news is that if it gets messed up and you don't like it, you can always cover it with battle damage, as I do. So yeah, I just start with 4 lines and then I just make each one thicker at the bottom. And I am painting towards myself. So if I were to paint away from myself, it would be a lot less straight and a lot less easy to control. So yeah, I recommend when doing this, start at the top, make sure you're using a really nice brush that has a good point to it, and just drag the brush back towards you. Then I am taking Thunderhawk Blue and I am just adding some texture around the edge to make it look a little bit more natural. And like I said before, if there are any areas where you feel like you didn't do that amazing of a job, you can just kind of distract the eye from them a little bit by making little scratches and things like that. All right, so for our blade, it's kind of a funny story. Let me tell you what colors I used. It's Abaddon Black, Oxford Blue, Thunderhawk Blue, and then I think it's Cool Gray Blue. Look at me struggle to fit all these in my hand. So for this sword, I was batch painting while filming, and I had to film this 3 times. The first time was on the original guy, the second time was on my backup guy, and then this time that you're about to see is on my 3rd guy because I messed it up the first 2 times, and then it turned out I messed it up the 3rd time as well. So, but I have no other option, so I have to just put it all in here and show you guys what happened. So I just base coated the whole blade with Thunderhawk Blue, and then this is me going in with Cool Gray Blue and choosing my highlight points. Just pick somewhere where you think it kind of makes sense, or just choose at random, I do that sometimes. And just make sure that the 2 highlight points are opposite each other so that they can reflect each other. or something like that. I don't really know the science behind it, but you want them to be opposite. And then all I'm doing is mixing Thunderhawk blue in with Cool Ice blue, and we're just going to slowly start blending the transition. So you can do this with a glaze, you can just mix the two colors together. I kind of do a mix of both, where my paint is mildly watered down and I just play with it and I just make it blend. It takes a bit of time, but I'm getting a lot faster. I think this was about 15 or 20 minutes. So this is me going in with Oxford blue. I'm just putting that into the shadowy parts, and then after that I will be taking pure black, mixing it with Oxford blue, and putting that into the opposite corners. So this is just me blending. I'm taking my artist opus and just making sure that each transition flows into the next one nicely. And I am anticipating the next step, which I hate, which is the edge highlighting. So I have pure pale gray blue. Everything was going fine, as you can see. We did it. Just going around the edge. The edge is not the hard part. It's getting the little center part down the middle of the blade. You have to get it at the exact right angle, or else it smudges. Watch, you'll see. So yeah, that happened 3 times in a row, and then I just had to finish the rest of the frickin' line. And then when that happens, you just have to correct it. So I had all of the colors I used still on my palette, luckily, and I just tried to clean it up the best that I could. It's definitely not perfect, and this is something I want to keep practicing. So good thing I have a lot more of these to paint. All right, everybody, here is my finished unit. I have to say I'm really proud of them. I really enjoyed painting them, and I think I'll be doing more in the future. Stay tuned for my next video, which will be an orc video, I think, and I will see you next time. Bye.